I never thought my heart would start racing because of my best friend's mom. It all began with a book, some flowers, and a few pictures on a lazy Sunday in Seattle. My name is Jaden. I'm 23, fresh out of college and hanging on as a graphic design assistant at a small startup in Seattle. It is not what I dreamed of when I was drawing logos in Wonderland, but it pays for my tiny apartment just outside Capitol Hill. Most days feel the same.
Okay, tilt your head a bit,
chug
maybe
black
smile.
coffee, fight with Photoshop, and try not to miss deadlines. On
Oh my
weekends,
God.
I might hit
I never
a dive
thought my
bar
heart
with
would start
friends,
racing
or
because of
just
my South
crash on my
Asian best
couch.
friend's mom.
Nothing
It all
special,
began with a book,
no big
some
love
flowers,
story,
and a few
just me
pictures.
trying to figure
Would
out
you boys
where
like a
I fit
soda?
in A. City that feels too big.
Just try to keep it down a
I have
little,
had a
okay?
couple of flings back in college, but nothing that lasted, nothing that felt real. Maybe I am too picky. Maybe I am just waiting for something I never thought I would want. My best friend since freshman year is Liam. We bonded over bad cafeteria food and old sci-fi movies. He works some finance job downtown now, wears shirts that always look freshly pressed and somehow still cracks the same dumb jokes from college. We stayed close after graduation. If there is one person I trust, it is him. His mom, Danielle, has always been part of the picture, like quiet background. Music. She is 42, a high school art teacher. She is always put together, but never loud about it. I met her the first week Liam invited me over during freshman year. She asked if I wanted a soda, reminded us not to be too loud, and smiled in that calm way she has. I knew she had been divorced since Liam was in high school, but I never asked about it. She was just Liam's mom, kind, steady, and in my mind, from a different world. That Sunday afternoon, I was biking over to Liam's place in Fremont to return a beat-up copy of Dune we had argued about for weeks. The fall air was crisp, and the sun was trying to push through the clouds like it always does here. But the sky stayed more gray than blue. I leaned my bike against their white fence, the same one I had seen 100 times. The paint chipped. In places, Liam's car was not in the driveway, which was weird. I figured I would just leave the book and head out. As I walked up the path, I saw Danielle on the front porch. She was kneeling by a wooden planter filled with bright marigolds and some purple flowers I could not name. Her hands were covered in dirt. She wore a loose white button-up tucked into faded jeans. Her caramel brown hair was pulled up in a messy bun, a few strands catching what little sunlight there was. She looked focused, but there was something else in her face, too. A hint of tired, maybe lonely. I could not quite place it. I was about to turn back when she glanced up and caught me staring. "Jaden," she called, her voice warm but surprised. "Didn't expect to see you. Liam's out. I think he's at some work thing." "Oh," I said, holding up the book like it was proof I was not some porch stalker. "Just dropping this off. I can come back later." She stood up, brushing dirt from her hands, and gave me a soft smile. "No, don't go. You've got a minute. I could use a favor." I shrugged. "Sure. What's up?" She nodded toward the flowers. "I just put these together. Thought I'd take some pictures for my art class Instagram. You know, inspire the kids. But I'm hopeless with a camera, and there's no one around to help." She let out a small, self-conscious laugh. "Think you could snap a few?" I chuckled. "I'm no pro, Danielle. I just mess with Photoshop at work, but I'll try." She smiled a little. "Wider, just Danielle. You're not one of my students." I took out my phone and stepped back, trying to see the scene like a design project. She stood by the planter. The soft afternoon light fell across her face and hair. The rough cement wall behind her made the flowers in her white shirt stand out even more. "Okay, tilt your head a bit," I said. "Maybe smile." She did, but it didn't look fake. It was gentle, like she was remembering something. Her eyes caught the light. There was a hint of sadness there, but also something warm and open. I snapped. A few shots, moving to get different angles the flowers. The light on her hair, the way her hands rested on the edge of the planter. Dirt on her fingers, but her touch soft and steady. When I handed her the phone, she stepped in closer to see. The screen? Her shoulder brushed mine for just a second. My body noticed before my brain did. Oh my God, she breathed almost to herself. You look, I don't know. Like I'm seeing something I forgot was there, I said, fumbling, even though I hadn't meant to speak out loud. She laughed. But there was a small crack in it, like she was surprised by how much it meant to her. You don't need to be 30 to look good, I blurted out. The words came out faster than I could stop them. My face burned. It sounded like some cheesy line, but I meant every word. She didn't laugh at me. She looked at me instead. Really looked. Her lips parted a little, like she was searching for the right reply. Thanks, Jaden, she said softly. Can you send me those? I'd love to have them. Sure. Where should I send them? I asked. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. If you don't mind, I'll just put your number in. Easier that way. I tried to act casual, while my heart thumped hard in my chest. She typed in my number and sent me a quick text, simple, smiley face, and thanks again. I sent the photos back to her, then said goodbye and headed to my bike. The book still in my bag. On the ride home, I couldn't stop thinking about the way she had looked at those pictures, the way her eyes had softened. It wasn't just gratitude. It was like no one had made her feel that way in a long time. That night, after I got home, I tossed Dune on the coffee table and fell onto my worn-out couch. I opened my phone and looked at the photos again. I noticed little things I had missed. Before, the way the light traced the curve of her cheek, the way her dirt-stained hands still looked gentle. I told myself I was just proud of the shots. Around 9 p.m., my phone buzzed. I almost dropped it when I saw her name. Thank you. Jaden. Those photos made this middle-aged lady feel like she can still turn a head or two. I stared at the message. The wink hit harder than it should have. This was the same woman who used to tell us to keep the noise down during video games. I typed, erased, typed again. Finally, I sent. You don't need magic to turn heads, Danielle. Just someone who knows how to see you. My stomach flipped as soon as I hit send. Had I crossed a line? A moment later, her reply came. You're sweet. Good night, Jaden. My pulse didn't calm for a long time. The next morning, she texted again. Did you edit the photos in Photoshop? I shook my head at my phone. Nope, just raw shots. That turned into a conversation about my design work, then her art classes. It was light, easy, but also new. I wasn't used to talking to her without Liam in the picture. Her texts felt like a little thread tying us together, a line just between us. 3 days later, another message popped up. Asterisk, feel like grabbing a coffee. My treat for the photos. Asterisk, I stared at the screen. She didn't mention Liam. She didn't say he'd be there. Sure, I typed, trying to keep my fingers steady. Asterisk, I'm free tomorrow afternoon. Name the place. Asterisk, she picked a small cafe by Lake Union with wooden tables and a view of the water. I told myself it was just a thank you, just coffee. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. The next day, I arrived a few minutes early. Danielle was already sitting near the window, a ceramic mug between her hands. She wore a navy sweater over jeans, her hair down in loose waves. The gray light from outside framed her face, and for a second, Ray just stood there, wondering when exactly she went from Liam's mom to someone I could not stop thinking about. Hey, Jaden, she said, looking up and smiling. Didn't expect you to be late. I'm always the early one. I'm not late, I said, sliding into the chair across from her. You're just on teacher time. She laughed, that soft, warm laugh that already felt familiar. Guilty. When you work with teenagers, you learn to show up before they do. We ordered black coffee for me, a latte for her. I waited for her to bring up Liam, to talk about him the way most parents do. She didn't. Instead, she asked about my job, how I got into design, what I liked about it, what I hated. I told her about late nights in college, finishing projects. A professor who noticed my eye for balance even when grades didn't reflect it. I complained about clients who wanted 5 logos for the price of 1. She listened like none of it was boring. Her eyes stayed on mine, steady and curious. "You really are good at this," she said. "Those pictures you took of me, they weren't just lucky shots. They made me feel seen." I shifted in my seat, looking down at my mug. I just pointed my phone and hit the button, I muttered. Double quotes, "No, you saw something I forgot was there." "That matters," she said softly. Her voice had that same tiny crack I'd heard on the porch. I didn't know how to respond, so I just held her gaze a moment longer, then felt safe. We talked about her job next, about paint-covered desks and loud kids who complained about perspective and shading. She told me about a student who turned a bowl of fruit into something that looked like a pile of balloons. "I didn't have the heart to correct him," she said, smiling. "He was so proud of it." I laughed, leaning in, forgetting for a while that she was older, that she was my best friend's mom. She told me she loved jazz, how she used to sneak into clubs in her 20s just to listen to live music. I admitted I didn't get jazz, but I'd try listening to Miles Davis for her. "Don't try too hard," she said. "Just let it sink in." When we finally stepped outside, the sky was turning pink over the water. She pulled her sweater tighter around herself. "This was nice," she said. "Thank you for coming," I replied. "You didn't have to buy," she said. "I wanted to." "You've been good company lately." That word stuck with me the whole bike ride home. Company, not Liam's friend. Not the kid who hangs around, just company. After that, things didn't go back to normal. They shifted slowly, like the seasons changing without you noticing. Our texts became steadier. At first about photos, then about work, then random things. She sent pictures of her students' paintings, messy but alive. I sent sketches I did during lunch, little doodles I never showed anyone. "You're wasting talent on scribbles," she typed once, followed by a smiley. I grinned at my phone. Longer than I'd admit. We began meeting from time to time. Coffee here, a walk there. Sometimes we wandered around Green Lake, the path lined with trees just starting to turn red and gold. She would point out the way the light hit the water, or how a dog chased its own tail. I pretended to look, but I watched her more than the view. One afternoon, she asked if I could help repaint the old fence in her backyard. Liam was at work. The sun was out, weak but trying. We stood side by side with brushes in our hands, painting over chipped white boards. "You missed a spot," I said, pointing to a strip of gray wood. "Oh, please," she shot back. "Art teacher, remember?" She flicked a tiny bit of paint at me. It hit my cheek, and she laughed. I dipped my brush and swiped a thin line across her forearm in return. For a second, we were just two people making a mess and laughing in the yard. "You're not as bad at this as I thought," she said finally, giving me a sideways smile. "High praise," I answered. "I'll add it to my resume." Later, I would think about that day and realize how easy it felt to be around her. At the time, I just felt light, comfortable, seen. Then the storm came. About a month after that first coffee, Seattle got hit with one of those heavy rains that made the whole city feel soaked through. Thunder rolled low and steady outside my window. I was sitting on my couch with my laptop, pretending to work on a logo when my phone buzzed. It was her. "Hey," she wrote. "Sorry to bother you. The power just went out here. I'm alone and not great with storms. Any chance you're free?" I stared at the message. I didn't. Think. I just moved. I'm on my way, I replied. I grabbed a flashlight and a pack of old candles from my kitchen drawer, pulled on my hoodie, and biked through the rain. The streets were slick and dark. By the time I got to her house, I was soaked. Danielle opened the door, holding a small battery lantern. The soft light made her look younger and older at the same time. Her hair was pulled back, and she wore a gray cardigan over a simple shirt. "You didn't have to come," she said, but relief was written all over her face. "I wanted to," I said, stepping inside. The house was quiet. No humming fridge, no TV noise, just the sound of rain against the windows. Liam was staying at a friend's place. She told me it was just us. I set the candles on the coffee table and lit them one by one. Warm, flickering light filled the living room, chasing away the shadows. We sat down on the couch, side by side, but not touching. The space between us felt very small. Outside, thunder cracked again. She flinched, her hands tightening in her lap. "You really don't like storms, huh?" I asked. "It's silly," she said. "When I was a kid, my dad used to sit with me and say the thunder was just the sky talking." But now, her eyes drifted to a framed photo on the wall. A younger version of herself stood there with Liam and her ex-husband, all smiles at some long-ago picnic. "Now it just makes me feel small," she admitted. She felt quiet for a moment. "I see you," I said quietly. She looked at me then. Really looked like she was trying to decide if she could trust what I said. "Not just as Liam's mom," I added. "I mean you. Your art, your jokes, the way you talk about color like it's a language. I see you." Her breath caught. She shifted a little closer. Our shoulders brushed, and this time neither of us moved away. "Have you ever felt invisible?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought about my desk at work. I said about how easy it is to be just another nameless guy behind a screen. "Yeah," she nodded. Like that answer mattered more than I realized. We sat in quiet, the storm softening outside, the room full of candlelight, and something else I didn't know how to name. When the power finally flickered back on, both of us blinked. The spell broke. She laughed softly, embarrassed. "Guess the sky is done talking," she said. We stood up. She started blowing out the candles one by one. I picked up the flashlight. "Thanks for coming," she said at the door. "You really didn't have to." "I know," I said, "but I'm glad I did." She smiled, small but real. "Me too." I biked home in a light drizzle, my clothes still damp, my mind loud. I didn't tell Liam where I had been. I didn't know how. How was I supposed to explain that his mom had called me when she was scared of the dark, and I had gone without thinking? Something fragile had formed between Danielle and me that night. A small, bright thing that lived in the space between what we were and what we were not allowed to be, and I had no idea what to do with it. Life on the surface went on as usual. I still dragged myself to the startup every morning, fought with fonts and color palettes, tried to make boring client ideas look interesting. I still grabbed drinks with coworkers on Fridays and pretended I was just another 20-something trying to figure his life out. But under all that, there was a quiet line between Danielle and me. It hummed under every text, every small moment. She would send a photo of a student's painting, some wild mix of colors. "Tell me this doesn't look like a crime scene," she'd write. I'd send back a doodle of the same painting turned into a cartoon monster. "You're welcome," I'd reply, "Modern art fixed." She'd answer with a laughing emoji and a "You're ridiculous." And I'd stare at my phone longer than I should. I didn't tell Liam about any of it. About the storm, the candles, about her asking if I ever felt invisible. Every time I thought about bringing it up, something in my chest tightened, and the words stayed locked behind my teeth. A couple of weeks passed like that, steady and strange. Then one afternoon, Liam texted me, "Hey man, Mom's turning 42 next weekend. I'm throwing a small thing in the backyard. You better show up. I need help with the grill." I stared at my screen. I hadn't even thought about her birthday. "Yeah, I'll be there," I replied. "Need anything?" "Just beer and your useless muscles," he wrote back. On the day of the party, I biked over with a six-pack of craft beer swinging from my handlebar and a knot in my stomach. The sun was sinking, the sky painted in soft pink and orange, and the air had that crisp bite that meant fall was really here. Their backyard looked different than usual. Liam had strung warm yellow lights across the deck, their glow soft over the grass. Folding tables were set up with paper plates and bowls of chips. That same planter full of marigolds sat near the steps, bright against the fading light. Liam was at the grill, flipping burgers and trying to look like he knew what he was doing. A couple of his co-workers stood nearby, talking loudly about something I didn't follow. Danielle moved between the deck and the yard, carrying a tray of drinks, laughing with one of her colleagues from school. Her hair was loose, curling past her shoulders. She wore a simple green dress that hit just above her knees. Nothing flashy, but it made my chest tighten when I saw her. She caught my eye for a second across the yard and gave me a small, private smile. Not the hostess smile she gave everyone else. Something softer, just for me. "Bro," Liam called out. "Finally, get over here. These burgers are threatening my life." I forced my eyes away from her and went to help him, setting the beer on the table and pretending my heart wasn't trying to escape my ribs. The party itself was small. A few of Liam's friends, two of Danielle's co-workers, music from a Bluetooth speaker, low buzz of conversation. People told stories about her, laughed about her being the cool art teacher, and she smiled, brushing off the attention like she wasn't sure what to do with it. I watched her from the edges, the way she moved through the crowd, making sure everyone had a drink, checking on the food, asking if anyone needed anything. Always giving, always in motion. Every now and then, our paths crossed. She'd touch my arm lightly as she walked by, or lean in to say something small like, "Thank you for coming." And it landed heavier than it should, as the night stretched on. People started to leave. Cars pulled away from the curb. The music got quieter. The sky darkened fully, and the string lights became the main glow in the yard. One of Liam's friends came, running up asking for help with a car that wouldn't start. Liam groaned, but followed him out front, tossing me a look over his shoulder. "Start cleaning up, man," he said. "I'll be back in a sec." Soon it was just me and Danielle in the backyard. I started stacking empty plates and tossing cups into a trash bag. The soft hum of crickets filled the space where music had been. When I turned, I saw her standing near the deck railing, holding a half-finished glass of wine, staring out at the dark outline of the trees behind the fence. She looked smaller, like that not the strong, put-together teacher. Just a woman alone at the end of her own party. I walked over, the trash bag hanging from my hand. "Hey," I said gently. "You okay?" Birthday girl is supposed to be smiling. She blinked and turned toward me. Her lips curved into a small smile, but her eyes were glassy, reflecting the string lights. "It was a good night," she said. "Liam did great. And you?" "Thank you for helping," I said. "You deserve it." I dropped the trash bag and shoved my hands into my pockets, trying not to stare at the way the lights brushed over her hair. "Not just the party, all of it. You deserve to be celebrated," I added. Her smile faltered. She looked down at her glass, spinning it slowly in her fingers. "You are too kind," she said quietly. "Most people just see the mom, the teacher, the one who always has it together. That's who I'm supposed to be, right?" She let out a small breath. But tonight, I just keep thinking how fast the years went. I blinked, And suddenly, I'm 42. She looked back up at me, and for the first time that night, dropped the practiced smile. I've spent so long being what everyone else needs. And sometimes I wonder if it's wrong to want someone to see me as a woman, not just a role. The air between us felt heavy. I could hear Liam talking with his friend out front, the distant rumble of a car engine. But it all felt far away. Without thinking too hard, I stepped closer. My heart hammered, but I did not back down. I reached out and took her free hand, my fingers brushing hers before lacing gently through them. Her skin was warm. A small jolt ran up my arm. "It's not wrong," I said softly. "And I do see you, Danielle. Not just as Liam's mom, as you." She sucked in a sharp breath. Her eyes shone, and a single tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't pull her hand away. Instead, she squeezed mine, her thumb brushing over my knuckles like she was afraid if she let go, something important would disappear. "I shouldn't be saying this," she whispered. "You're so young, Jaden, and Liam. He trusts you. This is all so." She shook her head like her thoughts were running too fast. "I know," I said, my voice low and steady. "I think about him, too. But I'm here because I want to. And I'm not going anywhere unless you tell me to." She held my gaze, and the world seemed to narrow down to her eyes, the lights, and the feeling of her hand in mine. For a moment, I thought she might step closer, close the gap, erase whatever line we had been pretending still existed. A car engine roared to life out front. Voices drifted over. The spell broke. Danielle blinked, pulled in a shaky breath, and gently let go of my hand. She wiped her cheek quickly, as if she could erase the tear that had already fallen. "We should finish cleaning up," she said, her voice trying to be steady before Liam came back and freaked out about the mess. "Yeah," I said, picking up the trash bag, my fingers still tingling from her touch. We cleaned in a quiet rhythm, side by side, but not touching. Every time our arms brushed, I felt it like a spark. When I finally grabbed my bike from the side of the house, Liam clapped me on the back, thanking me for the help and joking about how bad he was at grilling. Danielle stood on the porch, arms folded, watching us. Our eyes met for a brief second, and she gave me that same small private smile from earlier. On the ride home, the cool air hit my face, but it didn't clear my head. I replayed that moment by the deck over and over, her words, her hand in mine, the look in her eyes when I said I saw her. Something had shifted. Not a soft maybe, but a real, solid shift. I knew we had stepped over a line, even if there had been no kiss, no big scene. My best friend's mom asking me to take her picture was supposed to be a small thing, a favor, a few clicks on my phone on a quiet Sunday. But weeks after her birthday, I kept thinking if I had known what that moment would turn into, I might have been even more nervous. Or maybe I would have said the same thing I did later. "You look better than girls my age." After the party, our connection didn't fade. If anything, it grew heavier, more real. On the surface, nothing had changed. I still went to work, still drank bad office coffee, still nodded through client calls. Liam and I still grabbed beers. Sometimes, he talked about stocks as boss, random drama at the office. Whenever he mentioned his mom, my chest tightened. He had no idea what was happening between his best friend and the woman who raised him. Underneath it all, Danielle was like a quiet second heartbeat in my day. Our texts were steady. Every morning or night, there was something. She'd send me a photo of a messy painting a student had done, some wild mix of colors. "Tell me this doesn't look like a crime scene," she'd write. I'd send back a quick sketch, turning it into a cartoon superhero. "Fixed, you can pay me in coffee." She replied with a laughing emoji and a deal. I grinned at my phone longer than I should. One afternoon, a message made me stop cold. Still have that photo you took of me? She wrote, "It's my lock screen. Makes me smile every time I see it." I stared at the text. That picture from the porch, the soft light, her tired sadness. The gentle way she held the flowers, it had become more than just a photo. "If you want a new one," I typed. "I've still got my phone and plenty of time." There was a pause. Then she sent a single red heart sticker. No words. Somehow, that felt louder than anything she could have said. A few days later, she texted again. "Free Saturday. Thinking of updating my photos. Something more put together. For school, and maybe for me." My stomach flipped. "Yeah," I replied. "Name the time." 3, she wrote. "My place. Bring that designer eye of yours." When Saturday came, I almost backed out twice. I stood in my apartment, staring at my reflection, wondering if I should dress nicer, then gave up and stuck with jeans and a clean black t-shirt. I grabbed my better camera instead of my phone this time, slung it over my shoulder, and biked to Fremont. The sky was clear, the kind of rare blue Seattle gets when the clouds finally give up. Her house looked the same, but my chest felt tighter as I walked up the path. Danielle opened the door before I could knock. She wore a simple, soft blue blouse and dark jeans that fit her perfectly. Her hair was loose, brushing over her shoulders. She had on light makeup, just enough to bring out her eyes. "Wow," I said before I could stop myself. "You look nice." She smiled, a little shy. "Nice. That's it. Really nice," I corrected. "You look great." She stepped aside to let me in. The house smelled like coffee and something sweet, maybe vanilla. "I was thinking we could try a few by the window," she said, pointing to the living room where sunlight poured in. "Then maybe on the porch again, if you don't mind." "Whatever you want," I said. "You're the client." She rolled her eyes, but smiled. We started by the big front window. I had her sit on the edge of the couch, then stand, then turn slightly toward the light. I told her where to angle her chin, where to look. The whole time, my mind buzzed, trying to stay focused on the camera and not the fact that it was just us here again. "Relax your shoulders," I said. "You look like you're waiting for a principal to yell at you." She laughed, and the tension in her face melted. I snapped a few shots in that moment, catching the real smile, the one that reached her eyes. "See?" said, showing her the screen. She leaned in close, her shoulder brushing mine again. That same electric feeling rushed through me. "Oh," she breathed. "I actually like these. I look softer, not so tired." "That's because you are softer," I said quietly. "You just don't see it." She glanced up at me, and for a second, neither of us looked at the camera. Then she cleared her throat. "Come on," she said. "Let's try a few outside." That's where this whole thing started, remember? We moved to the porch. The planter was still there, the marigolds fading now, but still bright. I had her lean against the rail, then sit on the steps, the light wrapping around her. She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear and looked at me, waiting. "Like this?" she asked. Something in my chest pulled tight. The way she stood there, calm and open, made my mouth move before my brain could filter it. "Honestly," I said, lifting the camera but not taking the shot yet, "you look better than girls my age." The words hung in the air, clear. No way. To take them back, her eyes widened slightly, her lips parted. She didn't laugh it off. She didn't roll her eyes. She just stared at me like I had just said something she had been waiting to hear for years. "Jaden," she said softly. I lowered the camera halfway, my hands suddenly sweaty. "Sorry," I started, my voice almost breaking. "That came out wrong. I mean, not wrong. It's just," she stepped closer, closing the small space between us. The porch felt quiet, the distant street noises fading into a soft hum. Don't apologize, she said. You meant it. I nodded, throat dry. Yeah, I did. For a moment, we just stood there. The autumn air cool around us, the sunlight catching the edges of her hair. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. This is crazy, right? She whispered. You're 23. I'm 42. You're my son's best friend. I know, I said. Believe me, I know. Then why does it feel like I breathe easier when you're around? She asked. Why? Do I feel more like myself with you than I have in years? I swallowed hard, 'cause I feel it too. And I've been trying to pretend I don't. For Liam, for you, for me. But I can't keep pretending nothing's happening. A tear slipped down her cheek, but she smiled through it. You really do see me. I do, I answered. And I don't just see you as someone's mom. I see you as Danielle. The woman who loves jazz and paints, who hates storms, who laughs at my stupid drawings, who makes this huge city feel less empty. She let out a breath that sounded like a quiet sob and a laugh mixed together. Before I could say anything else, she reached up and cupped my face with one hand, her fingers warm against my skin. Tell me to stop, she whispered. I looked into her eyes and knew I wouldn't. I won't, I said. She leaned in and kissed me, slow, gentle, not rushed or wild, just real. Her lips were soft and careful, like she was afraid I might break. My hand found her waist, not pulling, just resting there. For a moment, the world shrank to the two of us on that porch. No age gap, no labels, no guilt. Just the woman who thought she had faded and the guy who accidentally caught her light in. A photo. When we pulled back, we stayed close, her forehead resting against mine. This changes everything, she said quietly. I know, I replied, and we can't hide forever. Not from Liam, not from anyone. Fear flickered across her face. He's going to be hurt. Maybe angry? He might hate me. At least. For a while, I said, but he'll understand eventually. Is this worth it? She asked, searching my eyes. I thought about all the nights I'd stared at my phone, waiting for her name to light up my screen. The way I felt when she laughed. The way she looked at me like I mattered. The way I felt standing here now, with her hands still on my cheeks. Yeah, I said. It is. But it has to be worth it to you, too. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded, slow but sure. Then we tell him. Not today, but soon. Together. Together, I echoed. We went back inside and looked at the photos on my camera. We stood shoulder to shoulder, our hands brushing, bodies aware of each other. The pictures were good. Better than I expected. She looked strong and soft at the same time. Alive. Send me these, she said. All of them, even the ones I don't deserve. You deserve every single one, I said. When I left, the air felt different, like the city had shifted a few inches to the side. I knew things were about to get complicated, hard, messy. There would be hurt. There would be questions. There would be a long talk with Liam that I had already started rehearsing in my head. But as I biked home, the sun low, the air cool against my face, my phone buzzed. I pulled over and checked it. Thank you, her text read. For seeing me, for today, for everything. I typed back, my hands steady. Always, this started with a picture. I'm not going to pretend it was just that anymore. I slipped my phone back into my pocket and pushed off again, the wheels rolling over. The pavement. I didn't know exactly how the story would end. I only knew this. My best friend's mom asked me to take her picture. I saw her through my lens. And somewhere between the flowers, the storms, the coffee, and that porch, I realized I wasn't just capturing an image. I was capturing us.